So, Muhammad, what is your story? Before we talk about radical Islam, how did you come to know Jesus as your Savior?
Actually, those two will tie in together, radical Islam and my story, because when I was born, it was during the war between Iraq and Iran. And my uncle actually joined the war voluntarily. At the time, he had 4 small children. And when he died and became a martyr, we idolized him, and he became a very, very honorable person in our family. And we became, as a family of martyr. And the government of Iran turned the alley that we lived on to our last name. So among the community of Muslims that we lived in, when they came and they said, oh, we went to Mecca, or we did this, or we did that, because it's a religion of performance, we said we have shed blood for Islam. You cannot get more honor than that. And growing up in that kind of an environment, and to look up to my uncle, to all the martyrs of jihad and the war during the 8 years of war, I wanted to become a hero as a boy in our family, and my mother really encouraged that. So I finished high school. I went, you have to serve as a man, 2 years in the military, and I was chosen for the Revolutionary Army of Iran, which is actually now designated as a terrorist organization by our President Donald Trump, which is a good move in his part. I was a part of the military, and while I was a soldier, I joined a movement called On the Path of Light. They took us to the war zones, very close to the border of Iran, where tens of thousands of Muslims gave their life willingly in jihad. And during that ceremony, I reunited my spirit with the spirit of martyrdom. And a part of training was that they put us in empty tombs and the graves during the night to fight the fear of death, in order to prepare you for that ultimate sacrifice, which is giving up your life willingly for jihad. And the belief is, if a Muslim, a man, dies in his own family, he can intercede for 70 of his family members. That's why mothers prepare their sons, their husbands for that, in order for them to get interceded and become a medium between Allah and them. That's why mothers encourage their sons to go in that route, because eventually the son will be interceding and buying the mother or the family members, 70 of them, favor with Allah.
So what happened?
So I finished my military service. I was ready, totally ready to give up my life for the God of Islam.
And how were you going to do that? Were you going to wear a bomb or something?
Not actually. If you remember Qasem Soleimani, he was the second man in charge of the country of Iran, and the military, the Islamic regime, the Revolutionary Army was a part of his deal, and he was the proxy war outside. So he would come and choose soldiers like us to take out in Iraq and Afghanistan and Syria and Lebanon, all the way to Palestine, to do the proxy wars outside. So by the time I was let out of the military to go for my life, I was going and praying to Allah every evening in the neighborhood mosque that I give the opportunity and the honor to do that. But after a year, there was no war or no hiring happened, and I was really, really hopeless, futureless. I thought the Islamic government is failing us, but not starting a war, So I became very depressed, very suicidal, and the more religious I became, the deeper and the darker things became for me. And I had this dilemma to take on my life. I would lock myself in my room and pluck out my hair and get a knife and cut myself to get rid of myself. And at that time, I had no hope and no future. But eventually, I talked to a friend of mine. When I went to the military service, he had flat feet, so he was medically exempt. And I didn't know what is he doing with his life. And I approached him, and after about 5-10 minutes talking to the gentleman, he was really peaceful. His face was mellow. It was a light coming out of his face. And everything about this friend that I knew him for so long, the peace he carried really, really bothered me. To the point that I said, what's the matter with you today? There's a big change about you. What's going on? And he said he became a Christian. And when he said that to me, it was like, some sort of a hate, something that came over me that I wanted to kill the guy, my best friend. And he calmly explained, or argued, he calmly explained what Jesus has done for him. None of it made any sense till he said this sentence. After 2 hours, he said, Jesus was bruised, he was beaten, he was humiliated, they spit on him, and they crucified him, they nailed him to the cross. His precious blood was shed. He gave up his life that you have eternal life. That was the best thing I have ever heard in my life. Every lie that Islam told me that I have to do in order to be good and earn eternal life, that wasn't working, caused in depression and being suicidal. He said it's finished in the person of Jesus Christ. And if you believe in him, you will have everlasting life. And there was something like a pierce, like a sword went through my heart, and I fell down on my knee and I begged him, literally begged him, what do I need to do? And he said, you need to do this prayer. And I prayed, opened my eyes, and for the first time in my life, I could see colors.
Wow. What about the peace?
Incredible.
Did you feel that like Ramin did?
Absolutely. It was something that, it was like an oil went through my head, went down. I was washed away from all of that hopelessness, all of that depression, all of the negativity and the hate that I was carrying about myself, about life. All of it was washed away.